At a Shabbat dinner, there's this kind of like tradition where you say a prayer over bread, right? And you get this type of bread called challah bread, which is delicious. It's fucking amazing. Really soft white bread. That it's just like really soft. It's really fluffy. The type of challah that you get on Friday is usually baked that day, so it's very fresh. And there's all this like stuff to dip it in, and it's just this like, you're gonna eat a lot of it, right? What's up, guys? Before we get into the video, just wanted to let you know that I have a brand new coaching program, and I'm looking for 5 motivated individuals who are interested in transforming their bodies and getting their health better than it has ever been. So if you are interested in working with me one-on-one to crush your fitness goals once and for all, click the link in the description, fill out the application form, and if it looks like we're a good fit, we can hop on a strategy call and get you started. Regardless of whether or not you do that, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to talk about kosher food and if it is actually healthier. And if it is healthier, why is it that so many American Jews are overweight? And I guess really what I'm going to talk about in this video is common health practices of American Jews and what they are lacking, and just kind of describe it overall. All right, so for those of you, I'm Jewish, basically. Let me say, for those of you who know, like I'm so famous. So I'm Jewish, right? I lived in Israel for a couple of years. I'm a dual citizen, and I have I would argue, unique perspective on the Jewish/Israeli culture. They're not the same thing, but I have a unique perspective on both because I got really kind of more indoctrinated into the Israeli world, despite not having any Israeli relatives, just from moving there and going through the army and living there for a few years. And then only after that, I got more exposed to my American Jewish brothers, let's call them, or cousins, or people who I have more genetic and cultural similarities with, you could say. So basically, I guess I'll just describe the way that Israelis eat and what that results in versus the American Jews and how they eat. And when I say American Jews, I'm referring mainly to Ashkenazi Jews, which is where most American Jews can trace their lineage from. There's exceptions, obviously, blah, 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 but that's not so much the case. I mean, it's most of them are Ashkenazi Jews. Anyway, so in Israel, you have it's kind of like the United States in that it's a very big melting pot, right? You have Jews who went to Israel from the diaspora when Israel was created as a nation, or a modern day nation, and you have them from all over, from various countries. Now, the effect of that is that you have cuisine from a lot of different countries. And Israeli food, I think, is really good. It's not perfect, but it tastes very good, has a very heavy Middle Eastern influence. And because Israel is a very hot country, and it's not big and spread out like the United States, meaning that more people walk, more people take public transportation, more people ride their bike, and in general, they're much more physically active in Israel than they are in the United States in most cities, right? So the effect of this, of having higher quality food from countries that are not like saturated with marketing from major food corporations, the net effect of that is that Israelis are much thinner on average. They're a lot less obese, although there is a growing obesity epidemic over there, no pun intended. And they are generally just more physically fit and lean than Americans. Now, especially American Jews, right? The joke for us over there when, we, I don't know, basically, like how can you tell just by looking at somebody when you're located in Israel? How can you tell if it's likely that person is American? Because the Americans are fucking fat as fuck, you know what I mean? And it's not just Americans, like that goes for French as well, right? Like French girls in general, if any of you know much about French girls or France, or have ever been there, French girls are skinny, man. They are skinny. And the ones who are fat, they're not even really that fat. They're like slightly chubby. But French Jews, they're pretty fucking fat. And American Jews who come from like Ashkenazi families, they're also pretty fat. So that is kind of a difference that we would notice. Israelis are also much more into soccer, and when you play sports at a young age, your body will kind of permanently change in response to the type of sport that you play, which is where if you look at people who have done gymnastics since a very young age, they usually have a lot more muscle tone. They're usually much more flexible, and they just have better coordination. A lot of times they're also shorter because some people say that doing gymnastics at a young age stunts your growth. But, it's the trade-off, I guess, that you have to make, right? Like, you're jacked for life and you're super flexible. All right, you're only 5'6", but, whatever. It's a game of trades, I guess. But anyway, when you play soccer at a young age, you're naturally going to be more lean. You're naturally going to run faster. You're naturally going to be, it's going to be easier for you to sprint, as opposed to if you don't play sports in the United States, or you don't play soccer specifically and you play, let's say, baseball, which does not involve a lot of running, or you play soccer, let's say you actually do play soccer, but, because you live in someplace where you drive everywhere, overall your cardio is not going to be as good as somebody who grows up in an area that walks everywhere. That last part is my little personal theory, and if any of you guys know somebody who's played soccer since a young age, I would be willing to bet that person is leaner, they're more wiry, and they have better cardio than people who did not play soccer at a young age, even if those people still, haven't played fucking soccer in years, right? You can make similar arguments for things like basketball or wrestling, with their own respective physical characteristics for that specific sport. So the point is that in Israel, you have this combination of eating, they do use a lot of canola oil or soybean oil over there, which is not good. But that is kind of like the only thing that they do wrong, as opposed to in the United States, we're also doing that, right, to cook, but we're also eating a lot of, processed food, a lot of fast food, drinking a lot of soda. And it's not really we're making a lot more mistakes in the United States than they are over there. Now, the thing with American Jews, the way that when I say American, Ashkenazi Jews, I'm referring to the ones who live a somewhat traditional lifestyle, meaning they keep Shabbat, they eat Shabbat dinner on Friday night, they go to synagogue on Saturday, which comes with a set of cultural behaviors that, in my opinion, are really bad when it comes to being physically fit and not being a fucking fat ass. So, when I lived in New York, for about 5-6 months, 2018, I think, was that 2018? And my best friend over there was this mini celebrity in the Jewish community. So I would go around with him to all these places, and he's also somewhat religious. So we'd go to Shabbat dinner. I would go with him to synagogue on Saturday. Despite the fact that I'm not religious, I could give a shit. I kind of just did it because it was fun. I'm not saying it wasn't fun. I enjoyed myself for sure, and I felt more in touch with my roots, so to speak. But it wasn't because I necessarily am voluntarily participating in those cultural behaviors, let's call them. It's not. I don't do it here in Vegas. You know what I mean? But anyway, when I was there, for example, what we would do every Friday is we would go to a Shabbat dinner, and there would be a bunch of food there usually, and the food, at a Shabbat dinner, there's this kind of tradition where you say a prayer over bread, right? And you get this type of bread called challah bread, which is delicious. It's fucking amazing. Really soft white bread. That it's just really soft. It's really fluffy. The type of challah that you get on Friday is usually baked that day, so it's very fresh. And there's all this stuff to dip it in, and it's just this you're gonna eat a lot of it, right? Now, the fact that you eat a lot of fucking white bread on one day out of the week is not necessarily going to, make you fat, let's say. But when you combine that with all of the other things that, American Jews don't really do, because it's not a high cultural value in their society, you're kind of headed for trouble, right? So it's not like Israelis don't eat challah. They do, for sure. You're gonna have some on Friday, it's just gonna happen, you know what I mean? But American Jews, they're not like super physically fit. They're not obsessed with soccer like Israelis are. They don't have a strong like beach culture, most of them. Yeah, fine, from Florida, sure, but most American Jews, they live in New York or New Jersey, or basically there on the East Coast, right? You've got like LA, New York / New Jersey, and then Florida, and the rest is like major cities in the US, like Houston, fucking whatever, I don't know, whatever the other major cities are. I don't even really know where the other like major centers of Jewish population are. As far as I know, it's like LA, New York, New Jersey, and Florida is really like the three main places. And in my experience, most of the Jews who live in like LA, they live in the Valley, right? You have some in Beverly Hills or closer to the West Side, which has more of a beach culture. And they're a little bit leaner, but the ones in the Valley, they're not that close to the beach, and usually they're pretty fucking fat. No offense to anybody who I know from those areas who's watching this, but Friday night, you eat the challah, you're eating a lot of food that has been cooked in vegetable oil, right? And on Saturday, you're going to go to synagogue. And the thing with going to shul or synagogue or Beit Knesset, depending on what language you want to speak, is that you go at like 11, and then from after like an hour and a half of prayer or whatever it is, you have like a big meal, right? You have like, it's called like a spread, or I forget the word for it. Kiddush, like a big meal basically. And think about it like this, like you've eaten a big fucking dinner of challah and like all of these other foods that are, it's not that they're bad for you per se, right? Like it's a lot of chicken, a lot of salads, a lot of vegetables. There's not usually a lot of dessert, because to keep kosher, you don't want to mix milk and meat. Most desserts are milk based. And at the Shabbat meal, you're eating meat. So it's kind of an issue there, right? But you're just kind of like, you've eaten a lot of food, right? A lot of times you drink wine. It's very customary to drink a lot of wine at a Shabbat meal, which is fun. It's really fun, especially if there's a lot of other cool people there. Drink wine, or there's usually a lot of alcohol there to drink, vodka, depending on who you're with. It's not super healthy though. And again, like I said, it's not like Israelis don't drink wine and they don't drink alcohol, but the Israeli culture is a lot more active, and they're a lot more active, and their diet, other than what they eat on Friday and Saturday, is a lot cleaner, just for this, because they don't live in America. And in Israel, it's very easy to find places that serve beef or chicken or other forms of natural food, which are very, Israelis eat those all the time, as opposed to in the United States, where people will very regularly eat a lot of processed food, because the ingredients that are in the food are not necessarily their main concern. They just look to see if it has that little like kosher symbol on it. So Friday night, you eat the big meal, maybe you drink some alcohol, maybe you eat a lot of bread, and then Saturday, you are going to, Beit Knesset, and you're also eating the spread, right? Made with a lot of food that's usually not that good for you. I mean, okay, fine, it's a lot of beef, it's a lot of chicken, it's a lot of like meat, but there's also usually like a lot of pastries, a lot of cookies, a lot of dishes that are, it's called parve, which means it's not milk and it's not meat, right? It's this like kind of thing in between that doesn't have milk or meat in it, which you can eat at any time, right? Usually it's not that good for you. Usually it's like fucking some kind of pastry, right? That they don't use any milk in or eggs, and it's just kind of bland. It's like very bland, basically. But when you're there and you see something that looks like a fucking cookie, you're probably gonna eat that shit, you know what I mean? And there's also alcohol there, right? It's also very common to have alcohol at the spread on Saturday. And if you go to a lot of these, like, remember when I was in New York, I would go to these, these synagogues. A lot of them are in very nice parts of New York, and they have, a ton of fucking money there, because of all these rich Jews that, like, I don't know, they donate to the synagogue and they're just like flush with fucking money. So they'll get these really crazy spreads with like all of this fresh food, and it's just like tons of food, way more food than you could actually ever eat. There's always food left over. Contrast to like the Ashkenazi places, like that place that I'm thinking of in particular was for Syrian Jews, because they're all kind of split up based on their ethnicity, right? Yeah, they're all Jews, fine. But like the Ashkenazi Jews go to this one, modern Orthodox go to that one, the Haredi go to this one, this other type of Haredi goes to this other one, the Syrians go here, the Persians go there, so it's all very cliquish. But anyway, you eat a lot on Friday night, you eat a lot on Saturday morning, and then usually what people do is they go out on Saturday night, right? And then what are you gonna do when you go out? You're gonna fucking drink, right? So it's like you have this weekend of, I don't wanna say debauchery, let's call it rejoicing, right? Let's add a little spin on it. You have this weekend of rejoicing where you're not really, like, putting your health first is not really a priority. It's never really a priority for most Americans, let's be honest. Whereas with Israelis, it's a lot more of, it's just kind of built into their culture. You're gonna walk everywhere, you're gonna fucking play soccer, you're gonna, like, I don't know, like most of them don't really go to the gym either. But it's just more like they have a better foundation for fitness over there than they do in the United States. So the whole idea of like, is it kosher, is kosher good for you, doesn't really come into play, right? Kosher just means, just because something's kosher doesn't necessarily mean that it's better for you, right? Kosher meat might taste better to some people, but just because like whatever fucking processed snack you have is kosher doesn't mean that it doesn't have polyunsaturated fatty acids, doesn't mean that they don't use seed oil, doesn't mean that it's not high in sugar, because you can have all of those things in your food and still be considered kosher. So basically the point is that Jewish culture is, they have a lot of very good things going for them. They're wise in a lot of ways, even with, the changes that have happened to the world in the past couple thousand years. I think a lot of Jewish wisdom still holds true. But one area that they have not caught up in my opinion, is nutrition. And that's kind of evidenced by like the unfortunate physical condition of pretty much all religious Jews. Once you get to a certain enough, like once you get religious enough, right? Once, there's all different types that like Reform, Conservative, Modern Orthodox, Haredi, and then it's like from here up, basically, everybody's out of shape. So anyway, that's that. Anyway, I just thought I'd make this video. I thought it was interesting. What do you guys think about that? Is it interesting to you? Let me know, leave me a comment. Peace. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Any and all comments are appreciated as they do help the algorithm. If you are interested in applying for my brand new coaching program, click the link in the description. Fill out the application form, and if it looks like a good fit, I will contact you and we can hop on a strategy call and get you in the best shape of your life ASAP. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time. Peace.